Welcome to WestEdge Wednesdays, the programs and presentations that took place live on the stage of the WestEdge Design Fair, November 2025, Barker Hangar in Santa Monica. The stage was presented by Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home, a remarkable friend of the design and architecture communities. And the stage itself was designed by Kim Gordon of Kim Gordon Design. And she did such an extraordinary job on the space this year. Considering what much of the programming was about, we wanted to create a space that helped you feel the rebuilding, the wellness, the comfort, the experiential nature of what truly remarkable design delivers. This program that you're about to see was presented by Fleetwood Windows and Doors, another great friend to the design community, and the Team Palisades community. This is a tough conversation. And you're seeing this, it's being distributed on January 7th, 2026, which is 1 year to the day of the fires in the Pacific Palisades in Altadena. This is an important conversation because it's not about going back to pretty fun things. You have people who just want what they had before. They just want their lives back. And it's not easy. And as you're going to hear, it's not easy for them. And if it's not easy for them, it portends to be much more difficult when other areas are affected by these types of climate-related crises, which we're most likely going to see again. So this is a very important conversation. And I got a ton out of it, and I think you will too. I hope you enjoy it. And with that, Allison, please take it away.
Thank you, Josh. Can everyone hear me? All right, I see a room full of lovely Palisadians, and we cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your busy, hectic schedules for being here today. We want to thank Fleetwood. We have Ron with us today, who sponsored this event. They've been incredible, incredible support. Building Green, Erica Heat, are you in the house? Fabulous, over there in the corner. And finally, WestEdge. If you haven't gone into the pavilion, it's absolutely amazing. We have a full, I don't even know how many tables, May. How many tables do we have? 22 tables, and it's all about you. How do we get you back into your homes? How do we get you figuring out how to make your lives better? On January 7th, thousands of Palisadians, including myself, have been navigating an emotional and logistical maze of rebuilding after losing our homes. Overnight, our lives changed. And the months since, we've all been trying to understand what is possible, what insurance will cover, how does permitting work, how much will rebuilding cost, how long will it take, and what it means to design for fire resilience in a place we love so deeply. And some of our neighbors are moving quickly, very quickly. You'll hear from one today, Sue Kohl, and I'm in that category myself. And some need a lot more time to understand the process, to understand if they can even afford to rebuild. Everybody has their own personal story, and it's highly complicated and it's highly emotional. What we know is this: we shouldn't have to navigate it alone, and that's why we're here together. Today we brought together local voices, people who live here, who work here, who lost their homes here, who are rebuilding alongside of us. And we're going to have a candid conversation today that's grounded in honesty and clarity and community. It's about rebuilding our neighborhoods, but it's also about rebuilding hope. Truly, hope. And most importantly, as we move forward, we're moving forward together. And what we do could have national implications for other disaster victims to come. But before I introduce our esteemed panel, and frankly, it's very humbling to even be up on the stage with these folks, I want to introduce Team Palisades. Team Palisades is one of the organizations that rose from the ashes after the fire. And today we have members of our steering committee, Rob Jernigan, May Sung. I happen to be on the steering committee. We have Dara Danton, Daphne Gronich, Dennis Smith, Leanne Daly, Elisa Ashwood, Steve Danton, and Jeannie Wiggenbonds. And Reza is also part of our team. It's been incredible, and Sue Kohl is there with us too. And without further ado, let me introduce. Ron Marome is the director of Sales Fleet, Windows and Doors, with over 25 years experience in luxury door and window industry. And he's dedicated his career to innovation, excellence, and leadership within this sector. And you'll hear a lot from him this afternoon. Rob Jernigan, Senior Vice President at Clayco, a national design build expert. He also lost his Palisades home of 30 years, and Rob is a distinguished architect and civic leader. He's also a graduate of University of Tennessee, and he's a fellow of the AIA, and he was listed as one of the most influential people of the Los Angeles Business Journal. So you'll be hearing a lot from Rob. Reza Akef, did I say that right? Akef, I apologize. He is our local builder that you'll be hearing from tonight with more than 14 years of experience. Reza has led highly respected design build construction firm Polaris Homes, headquartered in Pacific Palisades. His work is ranging from complex coastal hillside projects to multifamily developments, and he has positioned himself as one of the region's most capable leaders in the land of development, permitting, engineering, coordination, sustainability, and construction. Woo! All right, Mei Sung, she's our architect and fire survivor. She lost not one, but two homes. She lost one home in the Alphabets, and she lost another in the El Medio Bluffs. And she brings together lived experience, plus an expertise in designing for resilience. She's actually my neighbor that lived 7 houses up, who I didn't know until after the fire. And I consider her a friend. She will help anyone with any question. It's kind of amazing. I don't know how she's building her house at the same time. And May is distinguished IAA. She's a founder of SUBU Design. It's a full-service, award-winning architectural and interior design practice in Pacific Palisades. And she holds a BA in honors from UC Berkeley and has a master in architecture from Harvard. She was also named a Fulbright Fellow. She studied in Hong Kong, worked there, came back, and founded SUBU. Congratulations, May. A true asset to our community. Sue Kohl, homeowner, local realtor, community leader, lost her house in the Alphabets as well, now is rebuilding like nobody's business, one of the first pioneers. She's a local real estate agent based in the Palisades. She leads and is the president of Pacific Palisades Community Council and has been leading with grace and strength. I honestly don't know how you do it. And she moved to the Pacific Palisades in 1994. And along with her husband, Bob Benton, she raised a blended family of 8 children. We have some of them in the audience right now. And finally, sorry, these introductions are long, but if they didn't have such great resumes, Matt Talley. He's an infrastructure and disaster consultant. He advises cities, utilities, communities on post-disaster rebuilding and long-term infrastructure resilience. Matt is an attorney who was the senior VP of AECOM, client manager for FEMA in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, where he focuses on delivering exceptional customer service. Matt is now with Adkins Realis, and Matt moved here because of us. Matt is a fellow fire victim. He has his own story to tell about that, but Matt moved here to take care of us. And I don't even know if you've been maybe in 100 community meetings to understand the impact on our community, and you've been involved in the AECOM. So without further ado, my first question, and I'm going to start with May. I lost my home, and I want to rebuild. Where do I even start?
Hello. Okay. Where do you even start? Well, we usually start with budget, but in our case, our budget is complicated, as all of you guys know. So there's several routes actually you'll be able to explore inside our pavilion. So there's definitely the custom build. You find an architect, you work with a builder, and then you work with an interior designer. And then there's a semi-custom. There's actually a couple options in there. Case Study 2.0 would be one, Foothill Catalog, and also we have another one coming out called the New California Classic. That's being sponsored by the Design Leadership Network. That's going to be coming out in a couple weeks, and we actually had a town hall on Thursday. And of course, there's the Builders Alliance, and then there's also Builders Coalition. But the thing is that I think everyone needs to be comfortable with their decision. Are you the type that needs a lot of hand-holding? If you are, you probably want to think about custom or semi-custom. And if you're not, you just basically want to buy a house, then it's definitely Builders Alliance or something similar to that, or the development home. And then after you find the architect that suits you, it's like a marriage. You need to find the right partner. And that includes architects, your engineers, and also your builder. And I'm sure Reza could tell you more about that.
Reza, can you share more about that?
Is it already on? Oh, you can hear me? Okay, cool. The last part of what May said is so important. Ooh, I hope I don't get emotional, because it is, as a builder in the Palisades, you grew up in the Palisades, graduated Pali I, it is a relationship with your clients. You have to hold their hand. It's dangerous because they never plan to build their home. So you have to work with them and understand and listen to them. Man, I'm getting emotional just because this week has been a lot with my clients, and it's been really hard because they're scared. We don't know if the infrastructure, and we'll get more into that, but the first thing you need to start with is really understanding that I'm going to be your new wife or your new husband for the next 12 to 14 months. And we're going to be in a relationship together, and we're going to have to build this house together, and this is your home. This is your sanctuary, and you're going to depend on us. And I'm sorry, it's just all my clients this week, I don't know what it was, they all just at the same time, I don't know if it was Mercury, I'm not into it, but my wife is, she's in the audience, but it just, all of them at the same time were like, oh, I'm so scared, or oh, am I going to have enough money? And for us, it's like, we've been with you, helping you design your home, build your home, navigate the building and safety process, and help you get to that point where you're ready and comfortable to build, managing all of your expectations, and that's what's important. So really, when you get into there, we have Ask the Contractor table, talk to people, understand who you're going to get into a relationship with for the next 12 to 14 months. So important, really important.
Really well said, Reza. And feel free to cry. Anybody, feel free to cry out there. We've been crying a lot. Let it out. Sue, you lost your home, and tell us what you did. Tell us your experience.
Well, I have to say, of course, it's trauma, it's shock, and you're sort of left standing there going, what happened? My whole life was sort of planned. I knew where I'd be. I knew where I'd be going. And now I knew when I'd be retiring. It's all out the window. So the last thing you need is additional stress. And for me, personally, having everyone in the world saying, are you going to rebuild or not rebuild? And thinking about it all the time caused me so much stress that I just thought, I need to make a decision as quickly as possible because I can't stand the unknown. It's too much. And I was very fortunate through my real estate business to have been working for many years with a particular developer who I haven't always gotten along with. We've had our times. But he called me and he said, hey, I want to help you. And I know you're really busy, but if you want me to build you a home, you just say the word and I'll do it for you. So I thought about it for about 10 minutes. And again, not knowing about the money, not knowing about the insurance, I took a leap of faith and I said, please do. So most people spend a lot of time in plans and meeting with architects, and that's probably the best way to go. But in my case, I don't know who the architect was. I just said, please build me one of your nice houses. And so luckily for me, he's doing that, and that's how I got such a quick start.
It's actually amazing. If you go in the 800 block of ILIF, you can check out Sue's house. And I'm looking out at the audience. My friend, Ava Sobeski, also lost her house. She's an architect. She came to me the day after the fire and said, hey, we were going to take out some glass brick, and put in some sliders in the back. Let's go. So we're right behind Sue for that very reason. Not really
Close.
maybe as
You're close.
Yeah, close, but also not as methodical as many may wish to be. How about that? Ron, you are in the trades here with us, and that's what we see in the hangar next door. What advice would you give to us about what to do first?
Good afternoon. First, Fleetwood is proud and honored to be part of this. We support this community more than most people recognize or know. For us, it hits home. My biggest piece of advice is understand the building materials that you're choosing. Saving money sometimes is only going to cost you more somewhere down the road. Make sure you're using high-end, high-quality materials that also afford you the ability to have something special for the rest of your life, as opposed to, we see a lot of times some of the building material companies out there are being opportunistic. They're coming in and they're thinking that this is a great opportunity for them to make a couple bucks. Unfortunately, it's true. It's what we're seeing. I will tell you that not every company does that, and the company you choose, not only to build your house, to design your house, it actually matters. From a building materials perspective, I'm going to say, understand what you're building. Water management, water mitigation, fire resiliency, all of those things matter. And those things have to happen at the basis of design and not after the fact. So it's really important to look at the materials you're using and to involve the architect, to involve the manufacturers, and get all of those things wrapped up in a nice bow together before you even start digging dirt.
Thank you. So important. And now we're going to go way out with Rob. Given his decades of international experience in design build and your large-scale reconstruction, what strategic framework should a community like the Palisades adopt to rebuild not just faster, like Sue and I, but smarter? And what are the key principles that we should borrow from the global disaster recoveries? Big question.
Okay, so look, I understand there's nothing more important to you than getting back into your house, and completely agree with that. But I want to step back a little bit and say, I lived in the Palisades with my family for 30 years. What happened in those 30 years? Palisades became very popular. Because it became popular, guess what? Home prices doubled, tripled, quadrupled, okay? And then because they did that, what happened? Homes were torn down, larger homes were built, and it taxed our infrastructure even more and more, because no longer were the bungalows, but these were large homes with more bathrooms, required more power, et cetera, et cetera. And we really took an infrastructure which couldn't handle what we built, and then when we had this fire event, it completely collapsed on us, okay? So Matt's going to get more into the infrastructure, but I thought I'd set him up. No, but I think the piece that I want to make sure that we're not just talking about and not just thinking about is the pipes that are buried in the ground. It's also what's above the ground. And it's about what makes a community a great community. And it is our open space. It is our parks and recs. It is Sunset, probably the biggest connecting piece of fiber in our community. And so, you know, one could easily say Sunset at Palisade Drive, that failed us. So what are we doing? How are we looking at that? How are we looking at the retail nodes that support us? How are we looking at parks and recs, not as individual units, but are we together saying, well, look, if we're going to rebuild the Y and we're going to rebuild the park, and we've got Simon Meadows, and then we've got the schools, did we do an inventory? And are we making sure that we're not doubling and tripling up on some things and leaving some things out? How are we making sure that as we build back, we're building back smarter and better, because we're having to do all this over, at once. It's not over 30, 40, 50 years. So are we really, it's a horrible word here, but are we planning, master planning in the sense of our commercial and public zones to make sure that this is a community that when we come back with all these beautiful, beautiful homes, that you can say, not only is my home beautiful, but this is a community that is thought about 30 years from today and what transportation is going to be like and what our kids are going to be doing. And by God, this is the community of the future. And it scares me. Let's not just focus on that house. Let's make sure that we think about it in a bigger term.
Thank you. So well spoken. Thank you to Pat. So Matt, we were going to go to you next because you have studied in depth post-disaster communities throughout the nation. We are so lucky to have you, and we're so lucky that you stayed with us. Matt's no longer with AECOM, and he decided to stick with us, which is just amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Truly. And in your experience, what are the most significant infrastructure vulnerabilities that our community has that needs to be addressed?
So first of all, I'm humbled, and I'm truly humbled to be part of this panel, but also to be part of this community. You all have such strong leadership and such a strong will to rebuild that it is really inspiring. I think January 7th was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call because, it exposed critical vulnerabilities in our infrastructure. And so when we look at disasters across the country, whether it's a hurricane or a wildfire, there's a common thread of infrastructure resilience that determines how quickly communities recover. And I would say there are 3 primary focus areas, and those are above ground utilities and single points of failure. And so when you're looking at single points of failure, you're looking at what does the evacuation look like? What are the communication systems that a community has in place to make sure that we're staying organized and that you are properly communicated with as to when and how to evacuate. And then I would say, thirdly, it's aging infrastructure. It's looking at what's below ground and the pipes and what. While we have the opportunity, while the Palisades currently is burned down, we have the opportunity to put in stronger and more resilient infrastructure, and that's what we should be doing. That is what we should be doing. So
That's a must.
That is a must. In places like Paradise, California, and parts of Florida post-hurricane, even in New Jersey after Hurricane Sandy, these are disasters where they really focused on mitigation and hardening critical infrastructure. And those are the things that we have the opportunity to do right now. And so I guess I'll leave you with this thought. This is our opportunity to build back smarter, like Rob said. If we align community priorities, LADWP commitments to underground, and available funding streams, the Palisades can set a benchmark for resilient recovery.
Amazing. And I want to follow up on that because we have been in meetings where DWP has stated we're going to underground. And then I go to my contractor and they look at me like I'm nuts because our house is half built, and I say, you've got to have these conduits off the front of the property. It's critical because we're going underground. And they look at me and they say, I just talked to someone from DWP and they said they have no idea when that's going to happen. So can you shed a little light on that for us, Matt?
There needs to be a single source of truth, right? And I know right now that LADWP is working on that. They have committed publicly that they will underground the Palisades. And so it's incumbent on us to make sure that we are following through and up with LADWP and the leadership there. And I can tell you, every leader that I've worked with at LADWP, all of their executives, from Janice to Dave to Anselmo, they're all committed to making sure that we get a resilient Palisades and that we can do as much as we can in terms of undergrounding. Now, that doesn't mean that every street will be undergrounded. What that means is, and I don't know which areas will and won't be undergrounded, but what I can tell you is that if it's able to be undergrounded, LADWP is committed to doing that. And in areas where it's harder to do undergrounding, there'll be explanations for why undergrounding can't be done.
And Matt, if I can ask you another follow-up, sorry about that. Sure. We've been waiting as a community for a plan from the city. And we started off with Steve Soberoff, and then we had the Haggerty Company, and now we had AECOM. And we were told, hey, in 120 days, we're going to do this in-depth study, and November 15th, I remember hearing that date, will be the date that we will receive an overarching plan that you talked about with evacuation plans, undergrounding, a vision such as Rob's talking about, insurability, all of those things. Can you shed some light on that too?
Sure. Well, first I can say I can't speak on behalf of AECOM. I now work at Atkins Realis, but what I can tell you is that the premise of those plans, the infrastructure plan where AECOM is looking at, you know, what can be done with water and power and helping to strengthen the damaged public infrastructure and rebuild, so that it really turns into an infrastructure resiliency plan. Then you have fire protection, and that really focuses on, and these are reports that are at the final stages of being delivered to the city, right? Fire protection, which really talks about like how this, you know, what are the things we can do so that this doesn't happen again. And then thirdly is looking at construction phasing. When you look at the rebuild curve, it looks like a lot of construction is going to be happening, but most of the construction, it seems like, will be happening in 27 and 28, just right during the Olympics. And so when you look at the challenges that we all are going to have in rebuilding this community, that is definitely one of them. And so AECOM, I know, has been focused on looking at the construction phasing. They've also been looking at the evacuation plan. I think it's fair to say that the evacuation plan was not what this community deserves. And so it's looking at how it can be improved in the future and how we can practice it and make sure that we do a better job. And then, you know, finally, it's really looking at traffic management and how when we get to that stage where a lot of more construction is happening in the Palisades, how do we manage the traffic?
Thank you. And I want to let you know, in the last 10 minutes, which we still have 30 minutes left, we would love for the audience, if you have questions, to ask. And that will be in the last 10 minutes. And I'm happy to call on you then. But Reza, can you follow up on that? Thank you so much, Matt. And thank you for being brave enough to tell us all of that, because, and strong enough to tell us all of that, because that's a lot. It's a lot of expectations. Reza, what improvements in infrastructure and planning or coordination should we prioritize to help our homeowners?
It's late. It's too late. I mean, Matt won't take. What?
It's not too late. Nothing's ever too late.
But, well, from a builder's perspective, if you want me to build the right way, then you better hurry up and give me a plan of what the city's going to do. Okay, 89 days, Janice, the CEO of LADWP, promised us a meeting. Justin's looking at me. 91 days. 91 days ago, the CEO of the Department of Water and Power promised us a face-to-face meeting with her upper staff, and it's been scheduling conflicts every single day, and we remind them every other day. They were going to have another LADWP town hall the week after Thanksgiving, just to kind of sugarcoat what they were doing. That Sunset Boulevard is underground ready. It doesn't mean anything to us builders unless we know what's going to happen in the public right-of-way, what's going to happen in the street. You know, May and I have been working so closely with building and safety. They meet with us, they help us. DWP has not once sat across the table with us, and that's just not acceptable. If our future depends on an agency like the Department of Water and Power, they need to be sitting across the table from us right now so that we could properly build the right kind of home for the community that we love.
But Reza, it's not just DWP. It's also BOE. We need sewer. We also need
That's
the
a great
state.
point too. Thank you,
We need
May.
everybody.
Public Works has also refused to meet with us. So thank you for reminding me. Sue has empowered me on the Committee for Infrastructure under the Community Council, and we have made numerous requests to meet with these agencies. And I know this is about resiliency and about building, and we got you. There's a great group of panelists in there that can help you, but I just want, because he said something that he and I have and talked about a lot, the single line of truth. Each one of my emails to the city starts with, when are we going to get that single line of truth? And until we get the truth, you can't properly rebuild.
And that's why we're here today.
Right.
And that's why you're all here today.
Yeah.
And that's why we've established Team Palisades. We have the president of Pacific Palisades Community Council here. And this committee is under Pacific Palisades Community Council, the infrastructure. I happen to be on the committee. I'm just more to get the word out. I'm not the expert behind the scenes. But
Yes, you're wonderful.
We all became experts.
yes,
in a
and I
lot of
think
things.
May has something to say about this as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is not a typical design panel, and then we intentionally made it this way so we could interact with the greater Los Angeles community too. The design community is important to support us in this effort because what happened to us, it will happen again. And then the things that everybody needs to be aware of it is not just the city level, the state also needs to work with us because there's a lot of issues in the state that we also, it's coming out, and we all know what those are, so.
Spencer's telling us.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And Rob, go right ahead regarding infrastructure.
The only thing I was going to say, what frustrates me is they've made it so difficult for you to figure out how to hook up your house, and you're spending so much time on that. The bigger picture issues we're not even thinking about. And that's very frustrating because I will tell you, years ago at St. Matthew's, we said we can't get good teachers because they can't get here. And there's no affordability for teachers. And St. Matthews said, we would love to build teacher housing, but that's not R1. And we're not allowed to do that. And I think for us to be a complete community, we have to start thinking about these other things, okay? Because we do want kids with great teachers. We do want bike lanes. I live in Playa del Rey now, and the only time I didn't feel safe on my bike was when I got to the Palisades. And that to me is shocking. And so there's a lot of things we really want to make this community not just a beautiful place with homes, but we want to make it a great community in the future. And I'm worried that we're too worried, because we have to be, on things like, why am I paying for a fire hydrant? And I don't know why we're spending any time on that. It should be, put the damn things in. You're responsible for it. I said to several people, it would be nice if the government was responsible for infrastructure, and their response was, they're not? And that's what we're finding out,
Yeah.
and we have to stop this.
And Sue, it would be interesting for you to comment on this, being so far along in the building process.
Well, one of the questions was, what do I wish I'd known before I started? And of course, there's a million questions, and a lot of them have to do with insurance. But when it comes to building and what Reza was talking about, I feel really lucky. I was at a meeting, and I was talking to Justin, and I found out all the things that I was supposed to do to get ready for a pole or undergrounding, how to make it so that my house could be hooked up any which way. And I had to go tell my builder, I took a screenshot and I said, this is what you need to do, all these things, because he probably didn't know. Right. How would he? He's never dealt with this before. And I feel like I got lucky to get that advice, and I wish that the DWP or somebody, when they come out with hard information, would produce something that everybody would have access to so that everybody could say, this is what I need to do, give it to their builder. It's like fire hardening. We're now at a point where we can say, here's 8 things that you need to build with. Here's 8 things you need to do when you're building my house that maybe you didn't think you had to do, but this is what you have to do because, by the way, when I'm done with this house, I'd really like to get insurance. And so many of these things, it would have been nice to know ahead. But of course, when you're not ever planning on building a house, how would you know all this stuff? You know?
True.
Even in the profession, before the fire, the city was already a mess. And the whole reason I even started joining Team Palisades is because right when the fire happened, I knew it was going to be a cluster, you know what. And it has. Even though we're trying to work with DBS, I mean, plan check is not an issue. It's the rest of it. It's the future. It's what's coming. How do we get insurance? And how do we get information? And that's why Team Palisades was formed, so that we could give people information, so that we could get the information to our community, because the city's not doing that.
And
Can I
Reza,
add, like-
yes, and then I wanted to hear from Ron,
Like,
but absolutely.
May caught something so important on the last executive order from the mayor's office. At the top of it, they wrote commercial. And points, I think 12, 13, and 14 apply to residential too. Yesterday, when I was working the Ask the Contractor table, a Palisades family that I know came up to me and said, Reza, we're so worried about grading and the bond that we have to post. And I said, no, you don't have to post a bond anymore. Like, and make sure da-da-da-da.
Less than
But they said-
15,000. Less than 15,000.
I said no, I wasn't. But the point is that the clarity is still missing, because even that plan checker at the Department of Building and Safety thinks it only applies to commercial. May and I were assured that all the plan checkers would be notified that it also applies to residential. And these are, how can you properly design or build a home when there's still this miscommunication?
And one of the things I want to highlight about the grading, and then I think Matt wants to talk, is that's something that came up when the pioneers, we're going to call ourselves the pioneers, started building. We didn't know about this grading bond. And May, you were tenacious, and you got the city to understand this is
Because
not...
I don't have money to pay for the grading
Exactly.
bond.
This is what I'm saying. So May pursued that issue, and it's no longer an issue, but maybe mid-level management and some of these folks don't have the memo yet, but we need to make sure that our community has that information. It's vital, and our builders and our architects have that information. Matt, you look like you're about to say something.
Sure. So just really quick, we're approaching 1 year, and I'm living with some disaster survivors in my apartment complex, and I get questions all the time, and I do a little bit of pro bono work on the insurance side as well. And what I will tell you is that the plans are not going to get you back into your homes. What's going to get you back into your homes is actions. And so we need the city, we need the community to focus on what actions do we need to get you back in your homes more quickly. And it's, frankly, a 1 year too late for all of that.
And on that note, because we talk about getting back into our homes and insurability, Ron, you were talking about that a little bit during the opening, that there's things we can do to create fire hardening for our homes that insurance companies will look favorably upon.
There are, but I'm truly humbled to be sitting up here with you guys. As a kid who grew up in this area, and my stomping ground was this area, I'm sitting here and all of it's really just touching my heart. And I can tell you that the voices aren't loud enough. We all need to get together and make the voices louder. We can bang from the rooftops, better roofing materials, better cladding materials, better doors and windows, better glass, all of that stuff. But if the folks that are controlling the purse strings, which is the insurance companies, aren't listening, then we're not getting anywhere. So yes, there's a lot of things we can do from a building environment perspective that will protect our investments. Better doors and windows, better roofing. But boy, I wish everybody was listening, because this is an amazing panel to be just sitting here and soaking it all in and listening to. So thank you.
And I think your point of one voice, as we sit here with this group, we have other organizations that are very strong in the Palisades long-term recovery. We have Palisades, pardon?
Closer.
Oh, I need to be closer. Sorry. Palisades Recovery Coalition. We have our PPCC. We have a number of organizations that are rising and creating venues for people to get information. But are we united is the question. Are we a united voice? Have we looked at a plan, and I look to Matt, have we looked at a plan from the city? These are our priorities. We're gonna go for getting those permit fees waived. We're gonna go for undergrounding all of the utilities, and we want a master plan. We wanna look at those nodes in our community. We want bike lanes, whatever that is. We wanna build back resiliently.
Also, I just think it's important to get support from the city, and I think in this city in particular, it seems really hard and confusing because you've got a mayor, and then you've got a city council, and they really have all the power, and they're not all completely sympathetic with our situation. And, we just have to fight for every single thing, like the permit fees. I mean, it's great that the mayor said, sure, let's waive them all. But I know I had to sign something that you had to sign saying, well, if the city council doesn't approve it, then you'll have to just pay it after. So there's a lot of things that the city could be doing. And the neighborhoods, when it comes to this fire hardening, if the neighborhoods sort of don't get together and do a lot together, I think insurance is going to be a much bigger problem. We have to make sure that whoever's living next door to us, isn't going to be problematic if we're doing everything we can for clear sailing with the insurance company. So there's a lot of issues where we're going to have to be strong, and we're going to have to hang together and communicate.
Absolutely. And what I'd like to do now is ask a closing question of each panelist, and that should give us about 10 minutes for questions. So be thinking of your questions. But as we close, I just want to hear from each panelist if you can share one piece of advice or one message of hope for our neighbors who are rebuilding, who are here in this audience. And who would like to start? Rob.
I think persistence, hang in there. We are better together. The reason we created Team Palisades, it's not about an individual, it's about a group of us. I think, divide and conquer is what's going on with the city. And so even though you don't have to pay $5,000 for the fire hydrant, that ought to outrage every one of us. I think we need to operate with a much stronger voice. We need to say a lot of the stuff is just bullshit, and it's exactly what it is. And I think we're kind of taking it laying down. And, we've tried, the last meeting with Matt, I'm like, this meeting sucks. You're not telling us what we need to be told, da, 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 da. And then at the end of the meeting, Matt said, and that's why I'm quitting. And so God love Matt for doing the right thing. And then Matt said, you know what? I'll be part of you guys. I understand. And so yes, we have to think about ourselves and our home, but we have to think about our community. And we've got to put that front and center and drive this damn thing, because I'm telling you, we're getting no help. And the attorneys are gonna, this is Epstein files. When we finally get these reports, every freaking thing in it's gonna be redacted, because they screwed us, plain and simple, the city and the state.
And then, again, this is why we're here at WestEdge. So we're broadcasting all this to the greater LA area, because let this be a precursor. I mean, not a precursor, but the thing is, let this be a warning. What's happening to us could happen to anybody else, any other community in Los Angeles or in the state. It's already happening.
Okay, so first of all, I'd say we need to have faith. I think it's troublesome, but I think it's going to come together. It's going to happen if, like everyone said, we stick together. I also would encourage everybody. Everybody wants information, and God knows there is a lot of information coming from all of us, from all of our group meetings. We have, guests at our PPCC meetings twice a month who are supposed to be giving out information. People should join Zooms. They should become involved, because I think knowledge is going to give you the confidence you need to move forward. And you can't sort of wander around anymore saying, I don't know what to do, I don't know who to listen to. Go to the Zooms, listen to the information, and decide for yourself what you think is appropriate and what you think is right, and it's going to help you move forward for yourself.
You know, all I can contribute to this is from a building materials perspective, what you use matters. From the building practices perspective, how you do it matters. I know everybody wants to build back tomorrow and they want to get it done right away, but the shortcuts are the things that got us in this place to begin with. So I would tell you that take your time, use the right stuff, do it the right way, because it will matter. You know, we know this happened today, probably not the last time it's going to happen.
Remember,
When I speak, I don't speak for doomsday, I speak for hope. As a Pali grad, we're going to kick ass. We're going to build a beautiful community, and it's going to be a model for the rest of Los Angeles, if not the state of California. But we have to do it together. One of the things, since we are at a design event, I want to mention is that, for example, even though it's disappointing that IBHS standards haven't become code, these are the standards that insurance companies would like to see you integrate into your homes for a design perspective. As a builder, we are going backwards and integrating it into all of our projects and making sure architects who don't even know, not May knows about it, but not other architects don't know about it. And we are introducing them and educating them about it. So information is key. That IBHS standard has a lot of good information in it, whether it's Fleetwood's, aluminum windows that are dual tempered and dual pane, or whether it's, having a Class A roof on your home, having closed eaves, having, aluminum gutters with closed screens on top. This is what's important. I want to just point out that the home that you see in the LA Times and all over social media, the first home to get C of O, I wish them the best. But the one thing they didn't do? They didn't provide any undergrounding. And they didn't do it because they didn't have hope that it would actually happen. And that's what's disappointing for me. It's going to take an entire village of builders to bring back the Palisades, but we all need to be, as everyone said, on the same page. All of us need to do the undergrounding so that they have the onus on them to provide the undergrounding for us. Thank you.
My message to you would be, don't give up. I know it's easy to think about giving up and selling your properties because it's too hard or it's too challenging, or we're not getting the right information, or DWP is not moving fast enough. But this is a great community. When I drive through the Palisades, I don't see a burned down community. What I see is beauty. And I see the beautiful people who want to rebuild, who are focused on rebuilding the community better than it was before. And so, yes, there is a lot of bureaucratic red tape. Yes, it's not moving as fast as we want it to move. But I would just say, keep your patience. It is going to happen. We are going to rebuild, and it will be a better community than it was before.
fantastic. So I think what we heard is get riled up and get together. Time is of the essence, and we have 10 minutes for questions. We heard have faith, build thoughtfully, build smart, and look at the beauty and optimism. And with that, we would love to entertain some questions from our audience.
Yes, what is AECOM, authority, funding, mission, things like that? What is AECOM, authority, mission?
So AECOM is an architectural and engineering company based in, the U.S. business is based in Los Angeles, and they have been contracted by the city to deliver reports that lead up to long-term recovery planning.
The mission.
What's the mission?
The mission. The mission is long-term recovery.
Well, thank you very much. My question is particularly to Matt. When we heard, quite a while back about AECOM being involved, in the infrastructure and also the planning, the urban planning of this disaster area. And then we will be soon know about all the details. It's been months, and we haven't heard. People raise the question. We were in a meeting, for the community, and people raised the question where the money comes from. Some people said, well, it comes from maybe federal government. It might come, from, I don't know, maybe.
Is the question, where's the money come from?
Yeah, where's the money actually come from? Do we know?
Is that the money for the infrastructure?
The infrastructure
Got
and
it.
underground power.
Yes.
So it will come from a bunch of different areas, right? So there's mitigation funding, there's FEMA funding. So there's hundreds of millions of dollars of FEMA funding that will come in to help rebuild the damaged public infrastructure. And then there'll be pieces of it that will be paid for by the city and the community.
Again, I'm sorry for all of your losses and the community losses. And although this fire was not started by the above-ground utilities, but so many have been. And what are your thoughts on how critical it is for us to introduce the below-ground utilities in the Palisades and all communities? And how do we get it done?
So I just want to say briefly, my son tried to save our house. I had no idea. He's 26 at the time. He drove down Iliff Street. All of the power was on around 6 or 7. And those transformers in the back. If you look at the areas in the Palisades that are ground zero leveled, very far from the fire, it's all the areas that were above ground. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not a fire expert.
And that's what concerns me, is they're proposing putting the cabling below ground, but the transformers are going to sit on grade. And those are the things that explode. And so personally, I think they ought to put the transformers in the below grade vaults. But all of this gets down to money. The whole thing is money, okay? And so, yes, should they bury the wires, the cabling? Yes, all the infrastructure should, but everybody's just focused on power. What really happened to us, and they'll say, well, the reservoirs didn't matter, and they may be right, because when they hammered the pipes with the water, the pipes started blowing up. And so, the reality is, what you see above grade and what you don't see below grade is something very, very different. And there's a lot of piping that is 80 years old that has not been replaced or older. And so again, if we're going to build back better, and one of the things that we kept asking for, and I can't even tell you if we're going to get it or not, did you go scope everything? Did you see the condition? Did you provide it? We're living on a patchwork quilt, and when we required that quilt to stand up, it failed. And so that's why my deal, I hear everybody about being in a rush, but let's not be in such a rush that we do it wrong. Let's make sure we get it right, because we're going to be living on whatever we do here for the next 50, 60, 70 years unless we get wiped out again. So let's make damn sure, because we're going to be tested.
We're never going to get wiped out again if we build back.
Well, if we build back right. But if we don't do the infrastructure,
I want to add to that the reason you need to go underground is because, and I want to give a shout out to Justin Skaggs in the corner there. He has been so helpful. He and I just recently found a document from Edison that says that emergency vehicles per the code are not allowed to enter disaster areas if they don't know the power is turned off. So for that reason alone, the power lines need to go underground so that if there's an emergency, the fire engines can come down the streets to put out the fire.
Right.
That should be the #1 reason why And there's a document, we have it, Justin found it, and this is why it's so important, and it goes to future insurability. Power lines have to go underground, and to Rob's point, the transformers have to go underground. And I think that's why DWP is being slow, because they know that that's what we want.
And also, you look at the communities within our Palisades that didn't suffer as much damage. Riviera, Huntington, they're all underground.
Marquez too. Parts of the area of the Palisades that didn't burn, they were underground for the most part.
Yes, and I think we have another question. Great.
Hi.
Yes, over here.
Next.
We're coming here first, and then I'll run over
Okay, Josh is going to go over there next. Thank you.
Hi, I'm a mom at the Pali High School. I'm very involved in the school. And as someone that, spends a lot of time in the village and kids go to school there, et cetera, I'm just curious if you have stats on this, like how many people that are Palisadians are buying these houses? And if they are they committed to keeping the style of architecture, the storybook, the colonial revival? I'm asking from a design perspective. Like, are they committed to keeping the classic Palisades architecture in place? Can you speak to that?
So actually, no, it's not. So there's actually a booklet in there, and then also Foothill Cadillac is coming in to the Palisades, and then so is a new California classic, which we are framing everything after 7 different styles of architecture, and that's being started by a design leadership network and safe iconic architecture. So there's a lot of traditional styles we're offering to the public, and that's. A lot of people are. A lot of people really want to go back what they have and also choosing traditional style rather than just a modern. There's no requirement in terms of aesthetic. But the thing is that, there's all sort of different things happening.
Yes.
Options out there.
It'll be fine.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Convey. I'm from the Palisades. And I just, first of all, want to applaud you. I love you all for the efforts and what you've gone through, and to put this information forth is, it's a godsend. So thank you for Team Palisades. As a graduate from Pali High and all of that, I applaud you. I am so sad and appalled by what isn't happening. I am hopeful. I know that resilience is who we are as Angelenos and Californians. I mean, look around. But what I'd love to know, I love what you all touched upon about getting the information out there. There's not been enough, and you guys are doing a terrific job. My actual question is, how do we unify the information and communication together, because we all want to, I think, and prevent this from happening? What actions and how can we do that to get voices heard to the people, the bureaucracy, and the leadership from a community, from a neighborhood, community, to city, state, and so on? What is your advice? How and where can we start that next level to create change that I know we can do?
Such a great question. It's really, literally, probably the most important question on the table right now. And I can tell you, December 5th, all of the different Palisades organizations that have been reaching out to community members are going to get together. Because we even know this weekend, there were a lot of conflicting, fantastic opportunities for Palisadians, but there was a lot of information that was out there. And so I think people may have been even overwhelmed. And I've had friends tell me, well, what source of information can I rely on? I'm hearing this from this one source, this from another. So we are going to try, as community organizations under the umbrella of Pacific Palisades Community Council, which is our anchor organization, to unite. And it is hard. I mean, I just met a neighbor on Kagawa from ILIF. He was coming over to check out our place because we had our second story was framed. And I had never met him. He has not been in touch with any of the organizations. So I think with the block captain system that we have, we've really got to reach out to each and every person. And a lot of people, you don't have time to participate in these meetings, but what we need to do is get everybody connected to one source of pure information. And that was an app that was suggested early on, like when the first month of the fire was like the one-stop app with pure information, that we did not pursue.
When I think of the one thing that I can contribute after leaving AECOM, it is how can I work with LADWP and the city to create that one source of truth. And so I am continuing to work on that and demanding that we get something so that you all have the information you need to rebuild the community.
So we were pulled together right after this by the California Community Foundation, and we did meet with After the Fire. And the block captain system has been the system to really build. Has it gotten to everybody? But what the block captain system really does is allows your voice to get funneled in to a common source. And then honestly, what we're trying to do between all the groups is really have potentially a common website so that we can get the information back out, okay? I think that's the best way. We do have a calendar now that has every event on it and this, that, and the other. But I'll be frank, we've done this all on our backs. We don't have the support of the city or any, funding. We're getting some donations, and it's a lot of work to build all this stuff to try to keep it all going. And that's where, we've had a lot of people put a lot of hours in for us, and we're very appreciative of it.
And I do want to give a shout out to Sue Pasco, who's in the back, because she's been on it from day one, circulating information. So thank you.
Hey, Allison. Allison, so if it's okay with you, it seems like we have a few more questions. We're going to go a little long. Is that okay?
It's okay with me.
Yes,
Are
it
you all
sounds
okay?
okay with you.
You're okay. I'm okay.
No,
and also feel free to get up if you need to.
Yeah, but I'd like to.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, hi, my name's Justin Skaggs. I am a dry utility consultant, and I do underground conversions in all of California. So I'm very familiar with how underground conversions and removing your power lines and putting them underground happens, not just in LA, but in Ventura County, Orange County, San Diego, everywhere else. LADWP is your most challenging agency to work with. We know where the hurdles are. We know that they don't have a certain standard. It's called 12 kV. It's very difficult to watch when the first homes start building and you see their meters getting put on the back of the property. And we have the first home that was completed and it's not underground ready. We have about 300 to 500 homes that are under construction. We know other jurisdictions have the standards. We don't need to be waiting anymore. We've waited for 11 months. We know where the issues are. I probably talked all your ears off except for Ron. I'll talk your ear off later if you want. But yeah, I mean, how do we push to actually get these standards brought in from the other jurisdictions, get something like applicant design just as a policy change done? How do we get joint trench? There's so many ways that we could be managing this and doing this right now. We need those 300 to 500 homes putting in that conduit, and how do we get them to do that?
That's an excellent question. Thank you so much, Justin. And you have been in the trenches literally and figuratively with us all along. I also wanted to mention Miriam Czar's here with the Palisades Recovery Coalition, and she's been amplifying our voice too. When you were like exactly behind the camera, so I didn't see you sitting right there, but I did want to acknowledge that. Thank you. But okay, so back to the trenching question. If we can, Reza, did you want to take that or?
Justin knows. You have to look at the authority structure. You have a mayor. I mean, as you have a mayor. The mayor doesn't hold that power, and we have a councilwoman who's been phenomenal. You couldn't have asked. I genuinely believe, without getting emotional again, she's really just done everything she can. The city of Los Angeles. I was 25. If anybody remembers, I helped Bill Rosendahl get elected. I was nobody on his staff for a year before I went to law school. He always said, I'm only one of 15. And that's the issue here. One thing I've brought up, I mean, May and Sue know this, and Allison knows it too, is that we need, I'm happy to hear that we're all going to come together, but we need to go to those 14 other council members. We need to sit in front of them. We need them to make time for us. If I have to go to the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council to get them to request an audience with that appropriate council member, so be it. Because we need to get the people that are hurting in our community out there to meet with these other council members so that they know our plight. I mean, they have to know how many people are really hurting in the Palisades, because unfortunately there's a stigma. And so as soon as they're the ones that approve what LADWP, what Public Works, what everyone does. If you were at that hearing, like many of us were, when we were, like Daphne was there, who's in the audience, when we were there for the waiver of the permit fees, it was disheartening to hear the council member from the Valley say, well, I don't want to lose resources at my park because I waive fees. But I know in my heart, knowing my community in the Palisades, that if an earthquake happened in the Valley and they asked for us to waive permit fees, we would support them. And it's so disappointing that he doesn't turn around and realize that. And that's what we have to explain to them. We have to get in front of the other 14 council members. We have to get in front of the city attorney, the city controller. It has to be a unified message, like our leaders here have said, and we have to express it to them.
And
But
also, I
that's
don't
what we
think they
have to do.
realize we're all still paying our mortgages, our property taxes, and everything towards the city.
That expires in 4 months for so many Palisadians. I mean, it's very scary, and that's why I started this conversation with people are having a lot of fear of like, okay, Reza, we start construction. What happens if, like, the state disappears and they don't support us? It's very important that we all work together and make sure we don't lose that momentum.
Well, and that's why, unfortunately, you stopped at the city. And it needs to go to the state, and it needs to go to the feds. And we need people who know people that have relationships to push those. I mean, for the state to not say they played a major role in this, and again, I go back to my opening line where over 30 years, my property values and my taxes, and if you looked at the amount of taxes that the Palisades has paid and continues to pay, and the amount of services that we've gotten from city, state, and federal, we need the feds, we need help, we need to push them.
That's what I'd like to say. I think it's so commendable what you guys have done, what so many people have done in the community in terms of, you know, organizations and getting all this information out to everybody. Tracy Parks has been beyond brilliant, but it's bullshit to have any faith in the city or the state. I mean, you read the LA Times this morning, and they basically wash their hands of everything with the DWP. So in my perspective is we have to have someone federally behind this. And what I want to understand, because all this is nice, but in the scheme of things, it's nothing until you do have someone plan from the top and move things from the top and organize things from the top, because you're just disseminating information piece by piece. It's not consistent. It's not organized. And that's why you're going to have 100 houses that go in this way, 100 houses that go in that way, and confusion and Sunset and Palisades, et cetera. And so what I'm trying to understand is who is the highest ranking capable person to start moving things federally?
Well, and I do want to give some credit to the Department of Angels, because they have hired lobbyists. And I actually went to D.C. with the lobbyists and met with the Senate. But we need more. And so don't get me wrong, the Department of Angels, which we haven't mentioned, deserves a hell of a lot of credit. But we have to push more.
Who is the highest ranking person here that is trying to get federal something?
It's the lobby. Well, to me, it's the lobbyist group that the Department of Angels has paid for. But
Well, we need our senators involved. Right now, we have not met with our senators. Exactly. So, We
Well,
need to keep
what they
pushing.
tell us is that, because we did go meet with them, and they told us the same old shit. And the same old shit was, this is a red federal government, we're blue, we're not going to get anything. And so,
Okay,
the point is, well, that,
Oh, we have
there
a
you go.
question. We have a question
So
in the
who do
back.
we know that's red that needs to go for us?
Hey, by the way, let's do this. We've got one more question, and I'm gonna make a commitment to you. Okay, when this is published to Convo by Design, by the time I publish, I will do the research for you, and I will let you know exactly who the highest person is federally, locally, regionally, and I will put links to their office, and I will include their phone number. I promise you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, Josh.
Hi, sorry. My name's Steve Phillips. I'm an architect. We have gotten permits. We're in construction. A lot in Altadena, more specifically. I don't really know the reason why it's moving a little slower here. You guys have a specific plan that you're empowered with, the Brentwood Palisades specific plan. I would like to know how much work is happening on that level to set the rules that you need to set for the local community that all of us have to answer to. You have that power.
So go ahead, May. No, you go.
That's more the commercial district. That doesn't really apply at the residential level. And the thing is, like, we need a more comprehensive urban redevelopment plan. Because right now, like our neighborhood, we don't have streetlights. We don't know where the infrastructure is going. Half of us can't even plan our houses simply because we don't know if we're going to be overhead, underground, all these little minutiae, all these little details. If the city and the governmental agency doesn't tell us.
But in every single jurisdiction in Los Angeles, you have power. I'm in Playa del Rey. They have a specific plan, which actually was never even voted on, but it still is in action. And you get to decide. You have power. That is your power.
No, respectfully, it's not. It's not. That's not what a specific plan does. A specific plan governs the code and like if we were building a skyscraper on Sunset Boulevard, it would be the specific plan. But there's no skyscraper that's going in Pacific Plan.
Homes are exempt.
Homes are exempt from that unless it's on the Sunset Corridor. That's when the specific plan plays a part. So it doesn't apply. I want to make sure that people understand that if you think the Palisades is going too slow for you, it's not necessarily because of the building department. And I can tell you some horrible stories with the building department, but it's not only the building department. People genuinely don't know if they'll have enough to rebuild. It's an insurance problem, and the city can't fix an insurance problem. That comes from the state and the federal to help us. And so please don't always, I'm not saying they're perfect. By all means, I can tell you the city is not perfect. But there's no specific plan for us. We are 30,000 people out of 4 million that we're rebuilding for. We are not their priority anymore, unfortunately. But I will tell you that if you call the GM's office at Building and Safety and you say my plant checker is not emailing me back, he will fix that for you. I can promise you that. He has the empathy, even though his employees may have the apathy.
And I do want to say, Josh, you've been amazing for allowing us to go over time and answer many questions. If you have additional questions, we have a huge area in the hangar, Team Palisades, and we have a table there to answer questions. We have 22 other tables. Is it 22? 22 other tables with specific subject matter that you can come and have your questions answered. So thank you all for being here.
Just really quick, Allison, you were so busy introducing the rest of us that you didn't get introduced yourself. And I just want to say really quickly that there hasn't been a single community event that I've been to that Allison hasn't also been. What an amazing advocate for the community you are.